Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Video Game Collectors on Call. Today I've got a guest that I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen around on the internet, making videos of his game room and stuff. Has a huge collection of things from all over the 80s and 90s. I've got Will from Lost in the 80s and 90s. Will, how's it going, man?
Good, good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. No, I appreciate that you could make it. It's awesome to have you on here. I've watched you for several years, and I never thought I'd be at a point where I'd be talking to you on a podcast. So that's awesome to have you here. So thanks a lot.
That's cool.
So I want to start. I know you have a lot of stuff that you could potentially show us, but I want to start just by going over maybe a little bit of your history of being a gamer and collecting. So when's your first memory of your love for video games?
Um, I would say that my first memory, my first love, it all stems from the NES, all of it. When I was just younger, I don't know. I have two older brothers. One of them's 5 years older than me, and one of them's 6 years older than me, and that's a large gap in years when you're little, because you got to think when I'm five, they're 10.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
there's a huge difference there between the toys you play with and so on and so on. But when I was little, and I don't remember the exact age, I'm gonna say I was probably 4, 3, somewhere around there. I remember we had an Mattel Intellivision, and we didn't play it much that I remember, but I did play it a lot with my dad, and we would play Dungeons and Dragons, and basically he would run because you could control with both controllers that I remember.
Okay.
He would run, and I would shoot the arrows.
Oh, okay.
At the enemies that are chasing
Teamwork.
us.
You turned it
Yeah,
into a co-op game.
right. Or vice versa. I would run and he would shoot or whatever. But really that wasn't frequent. That was sporadic and it was here and there. When I really felt this love for games was basically we were out one time and I think we stopped by a friend of my father's, and the kid there that I didn't really know had the NES, and I believe he had the set with the Rob and the Zapper and everything.
Wow.
And I just remember playing Duck Hunt there and thinking this is cool. But then a little bit later, my oldest brother got a good friend of his that had that same set, and he had some good classic black box Nintendo games, and I just remember being blown away, like just curious about everything about that,
Yeah.
the whole system, all the games. And in '87 for Christmas is a really neat story, but and I think I've told this a couple times on TikTok and elsewhere, but for 1987, I believe that was we always did very well for Christmas. We didn't have the kind of money where we had a lot of stuff all year long, but Christmas we cleaned house. We just always did well, and I believe that was I believe that was my mom doing that. Um, so for Christmas, we were going to be on Christmas Day. We were going to be down in Florida doing celebrating Christmas down there at my grandmother's house. So I guess my mom decided, let's have Christmas here at our house on December 20th before, Christmas
Yeah. Yeah.
comes. So I'm still, in '87, I'm 8 years old, and I'm, still believing Santa and everything and not
Right.
really knowing and everything. And she let my brother, both brothers had a friend stay the night. For whatever reason, I wasn't allowed to. I don't know if it was because my age was still young and we were believing, I'm not sure. But that December 20th, me and the brother that was 5 years older than me and Chuck shared a bedroom together. And then my other brother, Tom, that's 6 years older than me, had a bedroom down the hall. So we got the NES, the action set, and I want to say we got about 6 games or so. And that's quite a bit of games back
It's a
then.
good start.
Yeah, exactly. My other brother down the hall, Tom, he got the Sega Master System, and he got a couple games, and it's always stuck out in my mind as the best Christmas we ever had because that was the first year we got TVs and got our Nintendos in our rooms and everything, and the games. And believe it or not, a lot of people are really, really, really like cult following type of deal for the Sega Master System, but we didn't care for it. My oldest brother was not much of a gamer. He played it a little bit here and there, and he kind of faded away from it. Yeah. But for me and my brother Chuck, we never really cared for the Master System. I mean, I was kind of intrigued by the artwork and the whole aura of it and everything, but we got that Nintendo and we never looked back.
That kind of was another question I was going to ask. Did your other brothers develop game rooms like you did, quite as expansive, or
no? They don't have. In fact, if anything, they would give me games. I still have the Master System that I'm talking about. It's up here on the shelf behind me.
Very cool.
It's my brother's original one, and he knows that I collect this stuff. He's like, you can have it. I don't care, because he just doesn't care about it,
Yeah. Nice.
The other brother, he played a lot of games with us and everything, and he doesn't play anything now just based off of time and stuff. And if I show him stuff, he's, I remember that was cool, but that's about it,
Okay, very cool. So when did things start to become a collection for you where you said, okay, now it sounds like you've always kept everything throughout your whole life. Is that kind of true?
Yes, to a degree. I had this, when I was younger, I had a problem where I would save things with the idea of collecting and keeping and everything. Like even as a younger kid, when I had like Super Nintendo, I can tell you that I had amassed games. Like I would make it a goal to get as many games as I could. If you had a game you didn't want, I was trying to trade you something for it or buy it from you or whatever. Even if it was a game I didn't like, I just wanted it. So I was always trying to get as many of those things as I could. However, my brother I shared a room with, he was always organized to a degree, and I remember as kids, like he would open a Nintendo game up, pull it out to play it, and he would always take the manual, and he would always put the manual in a separate box. So we had a box of manuals, and we had a box of games. They were shoe boxes, and then we got 2 shoe boxes of games, then 3 shoe boxes of games, stuff like that. But he always kept everything, and I could tell you that he always had like all his original toys. He'd put them back in the box, put them up in the closet. And I started to develop that same thing. And I think I've always had this desire to want to be back where the things were, like back in time. And I miss those times. So like having older brothers, what you end up doing is you see the toys that they had that you can't get and you could never have because back then there was no internet to buy anything. So if they had a certain toy and that toy line was done, like they don't make, say, Ninja Turtles or even Nintendo games like this. They don't make them anymore. They're not made anymore. So if you grew up and that stuff was stopped being made 2, 3, 4 years before then, how do you get it? You don't.
Right.
So like I always looked at his toys and I wanted them, but I can't have them because I didn't live in that era,
Yeah.
So he would save things. He would save the boxes, the literature, everything, or he'd put it back and all. Yeah. And what ended up happening was I kind of carried over and did the same thing. And I could tell you that like when I got my Super Nintendo for Christmas of '91, I basically pulled it out of the box, put all the contents, the manual and the paperwork and all. You put it back in the box, the plastic stuff, and just put it up on the shelf, put it away. Like it fits on the shelf, just put it there. And then kept the Nintendo out and played it,
That's so many people, myself included, threw away boxes and cardboard because it's, so,
right.
And it's so expensive to buy that stuff. I don't know that it's necessarily worth as much as some people will pay for it, but
right. I did change in when the Nintendo 64 dropped, I kept it all. I kept everything.
Yeah.
I would get a box, a game, open it up. I put the manual with the other manuals. I put the game with the games, and I took that box that it came in right then and there, because I opened it gently to try to not mess it up. And when the Nintendo 64 dropped, I was very, very, very like impressed the marketing that they did. Like, I loved how all the boxes matched. You know, you had every side of every box had the same exact color and everything. Like, it was very choreographed, you know?
Yeah.
So I would open it up, take that box, and I put it in a large, like, Apple box, and then put it up on the shelf, you know? So I had 2 or 3 Apple boxes, and they were full of all those games. Boxes, controls, all of it.
The only thing about Nintendo 64, I mean, I love the Nintendo 64. I just don't like that the cartridges, I think I see yours behind you, they don't have the label on the spine. You have to buy stickers yourself to put those on there, which is the only
nobody likes that. It's
downside.
A headache, you know. So
how many games do you have? Do you know a count?
I'm a little over 3,000.
3,000. Okay.
Yeah, somewhere 3,100 or something like that.
But, you know, for anyone watching and has never seen Will's stuff, I mean, not only does he have games, he has, you know, toys, like all. If you name it and it was around in the 80s and 90s, I think you've probably got it, right? It's a good.
I try, and I'm trying, but it's funny. I'm finding as I've done this, I'm finding toys I never knew existed. I'm finding toys that I forgot existed. And then toys that, you know, when you were growing up, there's like a phase where, you know, I don't know about everybody else, but I would go through phases where I decided I was too mature for toys, and you want to take all this down and put it away because you're like interested in girls or sports or whatever it is, and you're growing up. But then it slowly works itself back out and it's on the shelf again, and then you do that mature thing. And I can tell you that it was, you know, through the 90s there was this weird spell, and I've really wanted to kind of make a video talk about it. But you had your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
You had your Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Street Sharks. You had
that's a memory I haven't unlocked in a long time. The Street Sharks,
Barnyard Commandos. Yeah. I mean, there's all these weird. It was like they were throwing just curveballs and just throwing them like, hey, let's make a toy about this, you know?
Yeah.
And I could tell you back then that I kind of got like, I guess I looked at it like, what are they doing? You know, like confused. Now I'm looking back and I'm like blown away. I'm like, this stuff's so cool. Why didn't I buy more of it? You know?
Yeah. Where do you find stuff at nowadays? Like, do you use eBay a lot? Do you go to flea markets? And mostly the games I'm talking about, but in addition, the toys too.
Everything, in my opinion, everything is what I use. Facebook Marketplace, to a lesser degree Craigslist, because people don't use Craigslist like they used to.
Oh, yeah.
But I do construction work, and I'm always traveling when I do jobs. So, like, I live in Southern Maryland, and I'll have to go up to Northern Maryland to do jobs. And as much as I hate that travel time and how far it is away, I yearn for the times where, like, I don't have coworkers that ride with me or something, because if they don't, that gives me time to pull out my phone and start doing searches for retro toys and retro toy stores, and finding those gems that I know nothing about.
You should just take the coworkers with you anyway. Just say, hey, we gotta make a stop.
I have, and sometimes they don't want to hang out as long as I do. Other times they don't mind, and then other times the guy that went with me is telling my wife on speakerphone that I'm crazy, that I spent $500.
Okay.
You know,
gotcha.
So it's like, you know, what do you do?
He's a snitch. He's telling on you.
he was laughing. He was like, "How are you going to spend $500 on that?" He does the same thing. He's an older guy. He's actually he's 14 years older than me. Yeah. No video games at all, but he collects trinkets and toys and just neat little things. So he's got a lot of things.
Yeah.
and he kind of just builds little shelves, and he's got a lot of little things down there. So
Yeah.
he gets it, but
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone collects something in
but
some form
yeah,
or fashion.
I use all outlets I can. I am not afraid of eBay at all. Like
Hmm.
there are a lot of people that are afraid of it or they don't like it. The only thing I don't like about eBay is just in general the price point sometimes might be a
Yeah.
little higher. But the reason why I like it is that if you go to a store and you find a game, first off, you're limited to what's available there at the store. If they have 50 games or 100 games, that's what you're limited to. And then once you do get to a larger number like this back here, having closer to a complete collection, it's harder to find certain games. But if you do find one and a let's say there's a game and it's $100 game. Everybody wants somewhere around $100. Well, what if that game is beat up or the plastic on it is discolored or faded or the label's torn or ripped, but they still want $90 or the $100?
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where I want my collection to look good. I'll
Right.
spend 120 for a perfect game if I can.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a pet peeve about that. So what I find is that, like you're saying, so let's say a game costs $100. Now let's say it's a pristine copy. So let's say you look on price charting, the average is 100, but it's a pristine copy. Someone will say, okay, I want 130, right? But then let's say it's damaged, like you say. Then I find people say, okay, 95, right? They're not willing to go down the same amount that they're willing to go up, which is kind of backwards to me.
I'm 100% with you. I agree with
Yeah,
you, and I hate
yeah,
it, but it's one of those things that it's just how it is. What do you
yeah,
do?
yeah,
I have found that if you're at a what I would consider an honest game store with good people,
hmm,
a lot of times you'll see that maybe they would ask 80 for the game because they'd say,
yeah,
well, it's damaged, that kind
yeah,
of thing. They're not going to
yeah,
want $100 or the $95 for it because it's rough shape or beat up.
yeah,
The thing is that um, I I don't like Facebook groups that much. I have bought on Facebook groups, and I swear, you be in a group, and it could be video games or it could be Super Nintendo games, whatever it is. And as soon as they come on and they're for sale, everybody's like jumping to get them. So first dibs because you beat me to that game. So
yeah,
I can't get it.
yeah,
Now I get that. You understand how that works. No big deal. But I ask the guys. I say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'll take it." And then I'm so excited to get it. And then when the game comes in, the top of it on the side that they didn't show me has writing on it or something. And
yeah,
I'm like, oh,
yeah.
what a pain in the butt. How ugly it
I've,
is, or this and that.
yeah,
And I'm like, I paid somewhere around the going rate, and now I've got this mess on my hands. And I know Matty Newey likes to clean them. Well, I got
uh-huh.
several games he can clean if he loves cleaning them that much. Cause
There you go, man. I'll
right,
send them your
exactly,
way. Yeah,
right. But I don't have that. I don't have that time to do it. I wish I did,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm just so I don't have all the time in the world to clean all of them. So I'm not going to jump at the first game I see. I'd rather buy something that's already cleaned up, and if I have to pay a couple dollars more, I will. But the people in the groups, they would say, "Well, you should have asked for more pictures and this and that." But they always act like they hold themselves in this high standard. So if you really do, then show the pictures when you post it. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah. The onus shouldn't be on you, right? It should be the
Right,
responsibility
right,
should be on the seller to say, here's
right.
all the pictures of it. And
Yep.
maybe that's just maybe they're not. They don't know. Maybe they think, oh, it wouldn't matter to someone to buy a game that has a little writing or a
I
sticker on
I
it.
I think they know it, and I think they
Uh,
get it. I just think they chose not to.
yeah.
Now
I
you will find great sellers that do that, and then you find
Right.
other.
Right.
There are different
Right.
groups and different grades of those types of people.
Yeah. The
So
one thing, I don't want to talk too much more about sellers and stuff, but and I think I've mentioned it before is I'm not a huge fan of resellers. There are some that are good. I like them. They sell it so they can make money for their own collection, whatever. But there are some people who specifically buy a game, sell it at a
hmm
higher price, then they buy it, sell it at a higher price, and it's really just, along with game grading, in my opinion, inflating prices of games.
I agree with you, and I probably would say that I fully agree with what you said. I personally have been known since the '90s, and I did it because my biggest and most, like, the biggest thing I ever collected at first were Hot Wheels cars, and I did that all from the early '90s, and I really stopped like 10 years ago. I still buy them here and there, but like only certain ones. But I basically, as a kid, I remember looking, say, you look at this car and you say like man, that was, I love that car as a kid. And I always wanted that car, like perfect shape. And then as I got older, I was like, imagine how many people in the future are going to want this car. Like they develop a brand new car. Or just for example, let's say this year they released the Cybertruck as a die-cast car or something. You know, it's brand new. It's never been made. So some kid out there's like always thought that was a cool car, and then he wants it or whatever. Well, I thought some kid in the future or some guy in the future is going to say like, I remember that car. I love that car when I was a kid. I want one brand new. So I went out because I'm like, hey, cars are like 99 cents. So I buy 8 of them, of all the new ones. And I just put them away in boxes. So I've got boxes of cars where I have brand new cars that I just bought just for future resale. It didn't pan out because apparently a lot of other people have done the same thing. So I could probably get like $6-7 for the average car, you know, if you take shipping and the price of the car, but whatever, you know, resale wise, that's how I was, but I don't sell anything ever. I'm too lazy and I don't have the time to, like, I have now that I've moved and I'm trying to set all this up, yeah. I've been boxing things and going, I got to get rid of this stuff. I need to take it somewhere and get rid of it. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying,
I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I will say, like I've given a lot of games to Maddie. I gave some consoles and games to VGR. I gave some to AZ Retro Gaming, and I MXS Retro. You know her, Erica?
I think so. I've not interviewed her or spoken to her, but I think I follow her.
I sent her a GameCube game because she just recently got a GameCube, and she never had one. And I want to say when she got it, she had 2 games, 3 games, or something like that. And I've watched her since she first started, you know, when TikTok was young, and I watched her collection grow, and it's like starting to look like this now. You know, it's
wow.
It's getting big.
Yeah.
And it's like really neat to see somebody go from like what you would say is almost nothing to huge. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's inspiring, but it's neat and it's cool and it's fun. And I had basically like a lot of friends, they outgrow their stuff and they don't want it no more. And they're like, hey man, I know you like this stuff. You want it? So they give me all their stuff all the time.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So like a friend of mine gave me his GameCube and he had, 8, 10, maybe 15 games or something like that. And they were gems. They were all like first party, Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Party, and Metroid, and Zelda. You know, they were good games. And he gave them to me because he didn't want them. Well, I already had them, you know. Mm-hmm. So I held on to them for a long time because it was like, well, what if he wants them back? I'll just, hey man, here's your games back. You know, but he don't want them back. He's never getting them, and he don't care. I sent Luigi's Mansion to Erica, MXS Retro, and the reason I did is, you know, why not? You know, I could take it to a game shop and let's say the game's $40 on, you know, going rate. The game shop's going to give me what, 20, 25?
15 maybe, yeah.
I mean, lucky, at that rate, I mean, I don't have time. I'm not going to list it on eBay. I'm not going to go on some Facebook group. I don't have time for somebody to pester me when I'm a hurry up and get it shipped to them or whatever, you know? So it's like, you know.
That's great. I have a lot of doubles of things too I need to figure out what to do with because I'll buy sometimes lots of games and it'll come with maybe 20 Super Nintendo games, but I already have 2 or 3 of them, so.
that's really the way to do it if you are going to do it. If you buy everything single-handedly, you'll pay more, but if you buy it as a lot, you'll always make, you can make your money back or make your collection for free.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I want to touch on a little bit of a controversial topic that I like to talk about that I know we kind of mentioned briefly, but graded games, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on that and how you feel about the game grading craze that's been going on.
I look at it like this: like a lot of people get frustrated and mad about graded games. I'm not mad at all. Even like the whole WADA scam that they had, whatever that was, that I looked into it a little bit. It doesn't bother me like it bothers everybody else. I think what bothers me is that if you go get a game graded, there's no guide, there's no platform, there's nothing to go by how to price it. So I've never personally graded a game. I don't know what it costs, but let's say you take a sealed game and you send it into them. Do they charge you more for the higher number that it gets, or do they charge you just in general? I know they have like tiers of
it's based on the value. So if you're sending in a game that has a value of like $50 to $100, it's a price. If it's a valued game at $100 to $200, it's a certain price. That's how I understand it. So it's different tiers based on the price. Plus, there's tiers if you want them to also clean it, if you want them to remove stickers or remove Sharpie or whatnot. That's an added fee.
So you're telling me that if I got a game graded, and let's just say it was a very common game like, Madden 2004, that's going to be a cheap graded price, but it's going to be a very expensive price if it's, PS2's Kuon or whatever, however you pronounce that. That would cost a lot more.
That's how I understand it. If anyone who's watching this knows more about that, let me know. I've never sent any in myself to get graded either. I've been to their website and I've been to a few conventions where they had flyers and stuff up, so I kind of looked at it a little bit, and that's how I understood it.
I would say that if that's how they do it, that would piss me off.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's like for my day job, we sell and we install cabinets. So you're telling me that I can buy a cabinet for, it costs me $250 for the cabinet, and then I got to upcharge it and then install it. So let's say you're paying $400 or $500 to have the cabinet bought and installed, but because the cabinet you chose is a $500 cabinet, I should charge $2,500. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, the work involved installing it's the same number.
It's true. Yeah.
So that would piss me off. Now, what I was saying though that really pissed me off about that grading games is that you'll see, for example, a game graded, and they just throw out like random ass numbers. $8,000 for some game or something, and it just doesn't. Yeah. I don't know.
Who sets these prices? Where does that come from? Yeah.
They make up what they want, and I think they think, well, I really want 5,000, so I'll ask 8,000.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean,
that could be.
It's stupid.
But yeah, no, I definitely agree. Last question before we go on to kind of seeing some of your games. Is there anything in your collection, video game wise, that you're currently looking for that you are desperately trying to find and add to your collection?
If you want to talk about like a Grail console or game that I would want, I would have to say Neo Geo, because I don't have the console yet, and the games, and they are just so pricey. I don't think I'll ever get one, because I look at it like this: like I can buy a game for a couple $100, and I can bite that, but I don't think I can get my wife to be okay with me spending, a couple, close to $1,000 for the console, and then some of them games are, almost, a cheaper game for a Neo Geo I think is somewhere like $150 to $200 for the cheaper game, and it just, I don't think I could ever make it happen. Maybe it will if I get lucky, but
I've
But
never played a Neo Geo. I've not had the experience.
but
So,
I'm trying to get the whole collection of Super Nintendo games. So
oh,
SWAT Cats has been on my list for some time. Wild Guns, Metal
okay,
Warriors for that's a Konami game.
okay,
Um, there's a bunch of games like that that I really 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 want for Super
gotcha.
Nintendo, and they'll come in
Yeah.
time. But just right now, it's not the time for it. You know.
So, if you've seen the episode with Grant who plays games, he has a complete SNES collection. He's also got a lot of records on some of those games. So, shout out to Grant.
Grant, he
Grant
made
who plays games. Yeah,
Grant who plays
yeah.
games. Now he makes records, like the
No,
soundtrack.
no, like he holds records for some
Oh,
of the
okay,
games where
okay, okay.
he's speed run them or something.
All right.
Like Ghosts and Goblins is a big one he does. So, how many do you have of the Super Nintendo? Do you know?
I believe I'm at 455.
Wow, that sounds like a lot. I don't know. I have no idea how many there are, but that sounds like a lot.
I don't know the exact number. It's just over 700, I believe.
Okay.
So,
And I know Grant was telling me there's basically some that people don't really count as like since they're not real like releases or whatnot, and it depends on
right,
what kind of
right.
a collector you are. Um, do you know the game that has the bike where you like ride the bike while you're playing it?
Yeah,
I forget what it's called.
Exercise.
Yeah,
What the hell's that?
Exercycle maybe.
Exercise bike, mountain bike rally or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
With Speed Racer, and then
Yep.
uh, I can't remember. I have the one that doesn't have it. It's the same thing, but it's like the
Hmm.
lesser version that's cheaper. You know.
Okay. Okay.
So
Awesome. Very cool.
I did want to touch on something
Yeah.
real quick to get back to the graded games. I
Sure.
wanted to say, because I didn't get to it and I forgot, and then we changed subject, but I wanted to say that I don't hate people that want to grade games,
Hmm.
especially a sealed game. And the reason I don't is because I've always looked at something that if it's sealed and it's old, let's say it's 30 years old, like a 30-year-old game that's sealed.
Okay.
Um, I'm okay with you grading it because A, that's your game. B, it's your money that you're going to spend on grading it. And C, there's most of the time there's plenty of open ones out there. That one can stay sealed in the vault. And then you could argue, but it needs to be played and all games should be played and blah blah blah. Well, open it then. You know, it's always going you can always open it, but you can't reseal it.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
but
That's a
that
good
was
point.
all I wanted to say on that
No, no, no.
matter.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. So, I don't know how easy this will be for you to do, but I have some questions about maybe your collection of video games and consoles and things that if you want to walk around and show the answers as we go, or however you want to do it.
We could try.
If it becomes too difficult, then maybe we. But and the first question I have for you, and maybe this one won't require anything to show, but are you currently playing through any game?
Currently, no, only because of the move. I haven't been playing much at all, and the background story for the people that are watching that don't know this, because I know you know a decent amount. But basically, this house right here is the house I grew up in from the when I was 12 years old. We moved from up north down to here, down more of a country area when I was 12 years old, and it was right when I was going into middle school. And I lived here from 91 until the 2000s when I bought my own house and moved out. And when I did buy my own house and moved out, I bought the house right next door. So it wasn't a far move. And I actually, right before I moved, I actually did live in the bedroom that's right over there, down here in the basement. So this is where I gamed when I was, in my teens
Okay.
and 20s. And then, I moved over there. And then basically 2014, my mom passed away. And my dad started dating a new woman, remarried. And then they lived here into 2020, February of 2020. And then he moved away. And he didn't move far away, but he moved. And this house sat empty for 4 years.
Wow.
And when it sat empty, it was kind of just starting to take a toll. Anything that sits is no good. Like if it's
Right.
just sitting and sitting and sitting, it just goes bad.
Yeah.
And it sat and it was starting to get bad. And he finally said, do you want the house? And I said, like, I don't know, man. I said, I don't think I can swing it. It's a bigger house, the prices of things, and then I got so much work to do over there, yada yada. So we decided to make the move, and I'm buying the house from him. And the house next door, I had to do a lot of renovations there and bring it back up so we can get it on the market. So
Gotcha.
moving everything over here and then setting this up and then doing repairs over there.
Moving any distance,
yeah.
even though it's right across, it's not very far. It's still a pain to move everything.
Well, like I was telling you, I lucked out because I didn't have to pack things, wrap them up and protect them.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about this kind of stuff, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you have to pack it or not. It's still going to be a pain in the butt because it's a lot of stuff, and you just put them all in boxes, and then you can't move anywhere, and things are everywhere, and then you're trying to find things. So, I haven't been playing much of anything at all.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's talk about your favorite console, and if you want to show that, or if that's possible. If not,
Sure.
no big deal.
My favorite console, not my favorite generation of gaming, but my favorite console is the Super Nintendo.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I would, and I think it's the age. It came out when I was 12, and I think it's not just I think it's a big part of it is the age. Right around that age of your life, you're experiencing so many more things. Like you're just old enough to stay up and not have curfews or have all your friends stay over and all. And at that age, I lucked out. I probably had every weekend. I probably had at least 2 friends stay the night. Sometimes up to 5.
Yeah.
So when you're at that age and everybody's playing these games and you're taking turns and multiplayers and all this stuff, that's just a blast. I mean, obviously Super Nintendo didn't have the 4-player multiplayer, but it just takes me back to that time. And you're talking about some quality games because that console had very good games all across the board.
So give me an example. What's a hidden gem that people might not know about on the SNES that's a great game to check out?
Hidden gem for SNES.
For SNES. I mean, there's a lot of well-known good ones for sure.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You actually might stump me on this one.
Okay.
Combo Tribes is good. It's a lot like. Do you remember Super Smash TV?
Yeah.
It's a lot like that. It's not quite the same. You know what else? Sonic Blastman. Sonic Blastman and Sonic Blastman 2. Those are
that's
fun.
Good. Yeah,
they're very
that
good.
That one is good. What's the first one you said was Combo Tribes?
Yeah, Combo Tribes. Kind of looks like on a cover. It's got 2 dudes on it. Kind of look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Might be a white guy and a black guy. It might be. Okay. I can't remember exactly, but it's the same premise. Fighting for like TV show type of deal.
Okay. All right. Very cool. What about what's your favorite game of all time?
That's where I get vanilla. I mean, really, because I think the best game ever made is Super Mario World. I really do.
The original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Super Mario World's the best game, and I feel like diehard gamers would want to shoot me for that, and they'd, Final Fantasy VII or whatever they think, But I say that because it's a game that everybody loves. It's a game that everybody can play, and it's a game that can always be revisited and played, and you don't feel like anything's out of order or anything doesn't make sense, or that the graphics are terrible, or you know what I mean. Some games you go back and you're like, ugh, this is not what I remember.
It's also a game that I think people can relate to, even if they're not a gamer or they don't play video games. Like if I told my wife Super Mario Brothers, she would immediately know what that is, and she doesn't play games at all, so she would, say, oh yeah.
And that's the thing too, is that I've always been different. Like I feel like if everybody likes something, I don't like it.
Okay.
And then if that's the case and I really do like it, I only like it after everybody else is done liking it, and they don't like it now. You know, like I've always been that way with trends, like whether it's the way somebody dresses or something.
Right.
Like I look at something, I go like, oh man, that's stupid, and then when it's done, I'm like, oh, I like that. You know,
My turn. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What's the last game that you beat? Do you remember anything recently that you've completed?
Probably Bonk's Adventure 2 on TurboGrafx. I beat it one day. I live streamed that on TikTok, but that was 2 years ago. You know.
Okay.
It's been a while.
We've talked a lot about like Nintendo and stuff and older consoles. Do you actually play like maybe Xbox One, PS5, Switch? Do you play those as well or not as often?
Yes and no. There was a time where when you were talking Xbox 360 and Xbox One, I was on them constantly.
Yeah.
I bought the PS4 or PS3 and PS4, and I only didn't play them because friends didn't have them. And I've always been more of a multiplayer and play with friends type of person.
Yeah.
I think it's hard for me to dedicate the time to play some of the single player games and the longer games that are going to take a while. And it has been my goal in the past few years to break from that mold and get more into playing them so I can find that passion, you know? Because there are games where you might not have ever played it, but so many people talk about how good it is, you know it's good.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And at that point you find yourself and you say, I'm missing out, you know? And it's like a TV series. If you haven't sat down and watched it and everybody's talking about how good it is, it's probably good and you're probably going to like it. You just haven't sat down to watch it yet, you know?
Yeah. That's what I love about doing these podcasts is I talk to people, ask what their favorite games are. I learn about a lot of new games that I never even heard of and then I end up buying and playing. I'm like, wow, can't believe I never played this when I was younger. My favorite question I like to ask, what's your least favorite game? What's the worst game you've ever played?
And that's the one I've thought about this since I watched all your videos. And
are you one of those guys who just says everything's a 10, everything's great? You know,
no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
I just have trouble finding a game that's that bad. And the only reason I do is because if I play it a couple times and it's that sucky, I don't give it enough time to hate it as bad as what you're asking me to hate it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's unfair for me to say a game. So I don't know. I mean, at that rate, do I just say Superman 64 because it was a terrible game?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like
it's
a swing and a miss for me because I mean, there's probably been a few games where like, did you ever play Crackdown on Xbox?
I can't remember if I played it or not. I know
or
of
was
it.
That was 360, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was. The first Crackdown was a lot of fun, and the second Crackdown was like nowhere near as good, you know, in my opinion. And I just, you get a game, you're all excited. Hey, they finally made a second one or a third one or whatever. Or let's go get it. And then you put it in, you play it, and you go like, oh, this is terrible, you know?
Yeah. What's the rarest game you own? Might be 3 or 4 different ones that are similar.
You know, people ask me that all the time, and it's hard for me to answer because I don't know. How do we determine what's the rarest? You know, like I can tell you that I have Bonk's Adventure on Nintendo. Yeah. And that's somewhere around $650 or $700 or something like that.
Okay.
So I have that, and I know it's a rare game, and that's why it's pricey. But I don't know how rare it is because I do have a book. Did you ever see the NES and the SNES encyclopedia by Pat Contry?
I did see it. Yeah, I don't own it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
So I bought both of those, and if you read about the games, it'll show you they rate it, how many stars it is, how good it is, or fun and all this stuff. But it'll have a rarity level, and it'll tell you if it's rare. And I've seen games that are like, say, $120 be far more rare than a game that is like $600.
Interesting.
So when people ask me what's your rarest game, I don't know because I haven't figured out a way to find out which one of my games is the most rare. I do know that I have quite a few pricey ones for Super Nintendo, and I have a handful of the pricey ones on Nintendo. I just don't know which one is more rare.
Little Samson, is that one that you have?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
No. There's a user.
Make sure that guy that works with you is not with you when you buy it, because he'll tell your wife right away.
Well, it's funny because she's like your wife, not gamer.
Yeah.
Not interested. Knows about Mario, and she knows that my son is 10 years old, and he loves Mario and Switch and all this stuff and everything. And she went from when we first met, she had two sons of her own, and they came down and they're like, whoa, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then she's like, she thought that was cool. But after that, she's just like, whatever, right? But since I've started with social media and making videos, now she's more like, you need to go live. You need to do more videos.
She's like your PR director.
Oh yeah,
right now.
yeah. She knows it's good and she likes it, and she's like, if somebody was on, Little Samson, last I checked, was somewhere around $2,200. If I saw it and it was $1,500, she'd be like, go buy it. You need it.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Yeah.
Go get it. You need it. So you say that, but she's cool.
That's good. What about the most difficult game you've ever played? Does one come to mind? Battletoads?
I did fairly well in Battletoads growing up.
Yeah.
I gotta say that Ghosts and Goblins is far harder than Battletoads.
Okay. Shout out to Grant who plays games. He's like a magician at that game. So have you met Roto Baggins? No.
I
like that name though.
Yeah, he's on TikTok as well. He hasn't been too active in the last I don't know, 6 or 8 months or whatever. But he used to stream it and play. He's really good at it. And I'd say another hard game is Silver Surfer on Nintendo. That one was a tough one.
Never played that one. Is that a platformer or how does it?
Yeah. Silver, it's definitely a platformer. You're the Silver Surfer riding a surfboard. Automatic pan through the screen and stuff's coming at you and all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay. Gotcha.
It's tough. So,
what about your favorite multiplayer game? You talked about being a huge fan of playing games with people.
Growing up, I would have said it was probably GoldenEye.
Good choice. Yeah.
But nowadays, I was a big Call of Duty person, big Call of Duty person. So my favorite Call of Duty was always World at War. I love that one more than anything. If not that, then I probably would do Black Ops or Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 2. But I've gotten away. You were asking about the playing like current gen consoles and stuff. I've gotten away from the newest Xbox and the newest PlayStation because I'm frustrated. First off, I feel like almost no game that's made today has the quality storyline, the quality of the game, and the full content in it to be comparable to some of the games that we grew up with. Like a lot of people will argue, they'll say Ocarina of Time is the best game ever made, right? They say the story's amazing, it's a great game, it plays well, and all this stuff. Or let's go with Metal Gear Solid, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
What game in the last, I'll say 10 years, let's go back to Xbox One and PS4. What game in those two the generations back to then, what game can hold up to be comparable to Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah.
Can you name one?
That's a good point.
Now,
I don't think so.
I don't know. I heard Witcher 3, which I played some, but if you've played it enough, they'll say that some people have said it's a beautiful game, it's an amazing game, but I don't know. I just don't feel like they're the same. I don't feel like developers take the
That's
time that they used to, you know?
that's a good question. I'd be curious to know, the way we talk about games like Metal Gear Solid or Ocarina, maybe 30 years from now, what
I don't
game will be talked about
I,
similarly?
I don't I want to say I don't think they will be, but
Yeah.
I'm very I get on a lot of videos and trends and things, and I watch things, and I do see people posting about something, a game or a music video or a song, whether it's rock, rap, country, or whatever, but anything that was, say, 2006, and they'll be like, "Oh, the early 2000s, that was a whole vibe, and you couldn't tell
Yeah.
us nothing, and
Yeah.
we had that genre on lock or this and that," and they say those things and they think it, but I look at it, I'm like, that was, in my opinion, that was trash compared to this from this era kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be
Hard to say.
interesting to see the next 20 or 30 years how
But you're
things are
right. I'm
perceived.
curious how that would play out, what they would say.
Do you have a favorite genre of games, like first-person shooters or
Platformers. Always
platforms? Okay.
platformers, yeah.
Okay.
I've always just gravitated towards them. I think platformers are, in my opinion, a lot of fun. And in fact, that's actually a very good argument. And I've kind of wanted to talk about this to people in general. I think in my opinion, the generation, and I don't remember if it's 7 or 6 or whatever it is, but GameCube, Dreamcast, Xbox, and PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down the best generation of video games ever. Like
Yeah.
like you want to talk about the amount of games that came out versus the amount
Sure.
of quality games that came out, and the variety. You're talking a time where these big corporations didn't have control of, say, football. So now there's only Madden. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Back then there was Madden, and then there was NCAA, and then there was 2K Sports, and then
Yeah.
there was Blitz. I mean,
It's true.
you go down this whole list of 20 different franchises of football, and then you do that for baseball, and then you do that for soccer, and then you do
Yeah.
that for down the whole list, backyard baseball. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good point.
That stuff is gone, and everything is cut. In my opinion, from what I see, it's all cut and paste. It's the same stuff reskinned every time, and everybody gives Nintendo so much hell, saying that all they do is re-release the same game remastered, so it's
Yeah.
cut and paste or reskinned. But that's all Call of Duty is. I mean, you
Yeah.
could play Call of Duty. If you play Call of Duty enough and you look at the map, you can say this is from the game two games ago. It's the same map. It's just different design.
Well, especially, you're saying sports games. I feel like you have one sports game, then you have them all. I don't, to me, I think I have, NBA 2K19 or something, and I've never bought another NBA game because I'm like, why do I need, it's just got different, maybe it's got updated
Right.
rosters, but I don't
Right.
need that. It's not important to me. So,
But that generation of gaming to me is the most thorough, deepest, best, most quality, most variety. I mean, look at the library of the PlayStation 2. How many games
Yeah.
there were, and
Yeah.
even the GameCube, which is the weakest, well, other than Dreamcast, but the GameCube was a weak selling game console, and it still has like 600 games or something like that.
yeah.
And there's so many good ones.
It's almost as if developers have gotten a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to say lazy. Maybe lazy is the right word, but kind of
It
what you're
is.
saying.
They
I
don't
don't know
have
if you
to. They,
I don't know if you played Resident Evil 8 at all, but I
No,
played
no.
it, and then I played the DLC, and literally the DLC is just a different character, but all of the worlds, like all the places you're in, are the same as what was in the normal game. It's no new like areas or anything, and so it's like they just changed the character, and then you walk through and maybe added some enemies and different things, but
it the whole idea of gaming has changed so drastically that in my opinion, there's nothing to anticipate. I know that Age of Retro, which he was on your podcast before.
Hasn't been aired currently, but yeah, will be soon.
He's very pro and excited about the Switch 2.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that I'm not excited for it, but I also did not run out and pre-order it.
Same.
I did not pre-order it, and I don't care to because of the price point. I mean, they're finally raising prices on games, and yes, they're going to be more expensive, but I'm looking at these games and I'm going, there's no way you guys have this much resources put into the games. I mean, maybe they pay some of the games that the people that design the games, maybe they pay them a premium or something, or they pay them more. You know, some of these games, when you look at a game, and we don't have to talk about Grand Theft Auto because we all know how that's like the granddaddy. When that game sells, I think that's going to like shut down servers and it's going to be a problem because everybody's been waiting for so long.
Yeah.
When you talk about some of these games like a Call of Duty game, you're talking about when a midnight release came out and we all waited in the line for it, and then we got it, and then we went to play it. There were thousands there was probably millions of people on that first night playing the game, and you take that and you multiply it times the $60, and then you got to add in some of these people bought the extra stuff and all this other stuff, and then as evolution went, now people are buying DLC and people are buying uniforms and outfits and guns and whatever. It just they're making hand over fist. They probably already have the next Call of Duty. They probably have it lined up, and they know this is the game. And then they've already made the additional maps, and they've already made the additional guns and things, and they're just ready to release it and get hype up. Probably,
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. What advice would you have for anyone who wants to get into collecting? Maybe they are just now starting.
Now that I've done this for as long as I have, and I feel like I have sufficient room. Like a lot of people would walk down here and they'd say like, "Wow, you've got plenty of room." If I had, a lot of people are always saying, "If I had this much room, if I had that much room, blah blah blah." My advice to people would be to be patient. Be patient and have some kind of goal in mind, or an avenue that you're going down. Like, are you going to try to complete a collection, or are you just going to shoot loose and just get everything you can? Real quick, we all expand our collection, and then we end up with a whole bunch of extra stuff. Like, as we talked about earlier, you've got a box of things that you want to sell or get rid of or whatever because you bought a lot and you only needed, say, 3 games out of 20 games. So now you got 17 extra games. If you're on a budget, a lot of people will look at my stuff and they'll say, "Oh, your collection's so big and I'll never be there." And I don't believe that. I think everybody has a chance to get to a higher collection. And I think that I'm more on displaying it. Like, yes, it's nice to have some quality things, but if you can display your stuff like a good way, then it doesn't it doesn't matter if it's Super Mario World and Madden,
Right.
It just, you make it look good and enjoy it. It's your stuff and you like it,
Yeah,
So
definitely.
if I have advice, it's don't worry about what you're doing and what I'm doing. Worry about what you want to do yourself.
Absolutely.
And focus on your own collection and try to have a goal in mind of, I want this or that. Myself, when I started, I wasn't looking for super expensive games because I knew at that time I didn't have the money for it. I was more looking for like the things I had as a kid. Like, I wanted all those gems that we all grew up playing, whether I owned the game or you owned it and I used to come over to your house and play it. I wanted to have that game. But furthermore, I wanted to have the box or, what I could out of it, because the artwork to me is just as important as the game is. Excuse me. As well as, like, even on toys. It's going to take me back to walking through the store and looking at the shelf at all the stuff you want. Because, when we were kids, you were given $5 and you felt rich.
Yeah.
But you could only get like one toy, or you could get like 3 little toys, which are $5. And you always pushed and tried to get to where it was like 5 and change or $6. And whoever you got the $5 from is like, no, I'm not giving you the extra dollar. You have 5. Be happy with what you got. And when you would walk down those aisles and you see all that stuff, you want it all. You wanted every figure, every video game, whatever it is you're looking at, you wanted all of it, but you could only get like 1 item or 2 items, Right. So I would like to get some of the I want all the ones I had that I no longer have, but I also want to get the ones that I wanted then that I didn't have, So
yeah, that's the same.
Have a goal in mind and try to stick to that goal. Are you going to try to just get the black box Nintendo games? Do you want the whole collection? Do you want just the gyms you grew up with, and then the 1 or 2 games that you always wanted that you couldn't get for whatever reason?
Right.
Have some kind of like goal in mind, because if you don't, you're just going to be shooting all over the place and just picking up random stuff, and you're going to have a mess, and then you're going to be like, what do I do?
Absolutely.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good advice. That makes a lot of sense. I kind of want to. I'm going to wrap it up just a little bit here. I'm sure we could talk for hours upon hours about some of this stuff. We've had great conversations. Yeah, I've definitely appreciated your insights on a lot of this stuff. I want to touch a little bit on the social media accounts you have. So you have an Instagram and a TikTok. Do you have a YouTube as well?
I do, and I think I've only posted like 1 video on there. I've been meaning. And for those that don't know, and maybe even yourself, from what I understand is, if you truly want to grow on all your social media, make videos and consistently post. Like, be consistent. Just keep posting. Keep posting. Yeah. Sooner or later, you're just going to you're going to hit some kind of algorithm, and you're going to start to pick up a following and all. And and of course, stay true to yourself of what you're doing or what you want to do. Myself, I in my heyday of when I was really busy, I tried to do 3 videos a day.
Wow.
And what I did was I was trying to do a video game related, a toy related, and then a retro commercial of some sort is what I tried to do. Whatever the commercial would be, it could have been toys, it could have been a video game, or it could have been a TV show trailer or something. But I tried to be consistent in doing that, because I'm trying to relive the 80s and 90s when I grew up, what I thought was a phenomenal time that I'm finding out apparently I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that thinks that time was a good time and wants to relive it. Everybody else does too. So, I try not to limit myself, but I do try, because the core of my friends and my following are video game related. So I do try to stay, if I can, I try to stay more focused on video games, because let's face it, out of all the toys and everything there was that we all grew up with, I may have had Hot Wheels, but you may have had Transformers or vice versa or something. So, not everybody had the same toys, but everybody had a video game. Everybody. Right. Video games, they'll always be the biggest. That'll be the go-to for everybody. Denominator. Yeah, exactly. It's just a matter of what console, what system,
Well, I think I speak for everyone when I say thank you for sharing all of these things on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is that you share them on. It definitely brings back a lot of memories to a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so make sure you follow and check out Will on all of his pages. It's Lost in the 80s and 90s on all those social medias, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Make sure you check him out. Again, it's a pleasure to have you here. Lots of great discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you guys tune in next week for the next episode of Video Game Collectors on Call. Have a good one.
See you.